Enough! I am a god, you dull creature.
Stop trying to be a hero. You're a villain, and you're good at it.
Always have been, always will be. We have one shot at this.
Whatever we do, we're playing God.
What could we have done differently?
Loki Season 2, streaming October 5th, only on Disney+.
Is it any surprise a show about Loki would have you guessing motives and true intentions during every scene? This week's deep dive into Loki's time at the TVA does just that, and our recap helps get a better sense of all the craziness. After all, we are dealing with the God of Mischief. Welcome to Cine MovieVerse, your one-stop destination for all the hot updates of movies and series. Today we'll be explaining everything you need to know before watching Loki Season 2. Let's get started. Episode 1. Episode 1 of Loki takes us back in time to 2012 as we see the moments following Loki escaping from the Avengers in Endgame. Loki finds himself in the Gobi Desert in Mongolia. It doesn't take long before soldiers show up, claiming to be part of the Time Variance Authority. They're ready to arrest Loki and slow down time after a nasty blow as they prepare to reset the timeline. The Tesseract is taken too, while Loki is thrown into an elevator with a four-armed robot. After disintegrating his clothes, Loki is taken down to sign documents confirming everything he's ever said.
Please sign to verify this is everything you've ever said.
This is absurd.
Well, this place is the Time Variance Authority, and their inception is all part of what was once a vast multiversal war. With different timelines battling for dominance, the Timekeepers managed to stop all this with a sacred timeline. These variants are those who deviated from their original path, and the TVA are there to set time back where it should be. We then skip back in time to 1549 to the Aix-en-Provence in France. A small girl runs scared, but she points out to the TVA, and in particular a guy called Agent Mobius, that the devil is responsible for what's befallen them. Midway through talking, a man steps through a doorway and hands over a file about Loki. Interestingly, Loki brings up a lot of good points while standing on trial. While he's questioned about the sacred timeline, he brings up the Avengers and how they jump back through time to distort the timeline. Apparently, the Avengers rewriting history was supposed to happen, so they get a free ticket. Loki leaving the timeline, however, is not. And yet if it wasn't for the Avengers, then he wouldn't have been able to leave, so a bit of a paradox there. Anyway, Loki is found guilty, but just before he's taken away, Agent Mobius shows up and saves his life. Loki is in no mood to negotiate though, and scoffs at the notion of the TVA being in charge. Loki is even shown instances from the future too, with his mother killed. Apparently, this is supposed to happen, with specific emphasis on Loki's traits about causing pain and mischief, so others can achieve their best selves. While Mobius is distracted, Loki manages to slip away and uses the teleporter to find the desk worker called Casey he spoke to briefly earlier in the episode. This guy is incredibly dumb, and apparently has never heard of a fish before. He also has the Infinity Stones tucked away in his drawer too. With the Tesseract in hand, Loki questions whether the TVA really are the greatest power in the universe. As Loki moves back to the room he started in with Mobius, he sees his own death play out at the hands of Thanos. This is the conclusion to his timeline, of course. Eventually, Mobius shows up and confirms why they're using Loki after all. It turns out, the variant they've been tracking is actually Loki himself. We then jump to Oklahoma 1858. The TVA shows up to track their target, but this hooded figure drops a lantern on the ground and watches as everything burns. It's Loki, right? Surely it's Loki. Episode 2. In the second episode of Loki, the God of Mischief is tasked with helping Agent Mobius track down a variant of himself who is wreaking havoc on the sacred timeline. Loki and Mobius travel to Pompeii in 79 AD, but the variant is nowhere to be found. They then travel to Alabama in 2050, where a hurricane is about to hit a Roxxon superstore. Loki and Mobius split up to search the store, but Loki soon realizes that the variant is actually Lady Loki. Lady Loki is a more powerful and ruthless version of Loki, and she quickly takes control of the situation. She forces Loki to help her steal a reset charge, which she uses to create a Nexus event. This causes the timeline to branch, and the TVA is alerted to the disturbance. Mobius arrives and tries to stop Lady Loki. Loki is left with a decision. Should he stay and help the TVA, or should he follow Lady Loki and find out what she's up to? In the end, Loki chooses to follow Lady Loki through the portal. Episode 3. In the third episode of Loki, the God of Mischief and Lady Loki are stranded on the doomed planet Lamentis 1. They must work together to survive the impending apocalypse, but their trust issues and conflicting goals make it difficult. The two Lokis eventually team up to try to hijack a train that is evacuating the planet, but they are unsuccessful. They then try to board an ark that is leaving Lamentis 1, but it is destroyed by an asteroid. With no other options, Loki and Lady Loki are forced to face the end together. Episode 4. In the fourth episode of Loki, we learn more about the Timekeepers, the mysterious beings who control the sacred timeline. We also learn that they are not what they seem. The episode begins with a flashback to Sylvie's childhood, when she was abducted by the TVA and her reality was erased. This event, known as a Nexus event, set her on a path of rebellion against the TVA. In the present, Loki and Sylvie are brought before the Timekeepers, who reveal themselves to be mindless androids. This is a major revelation, as it casts doubt on everything we thought we knew about the TVA. In the end, the episode leaves us with more questions than answers. Who is behind the TVA? What is their true purpose? And what does it mean for the future of the MCU? Episode 5. In the fifth episode of Loki, the God of Mischief and Sylvie arrive at the Void, a desolate wasteland at the end of time. They are met by a group of other Loki variants, including Classic Loki, Kid Loki, and Boastful Loki. The Lokis band together to try to find a way to escape the Void, but they are soon confronted by Alioth, a monstrous creature that devours everything in its path. Loki and Sylvie realize that the only way to defeat Alioth is to find the person who created the TVA. Loki and Sylvie team up to enchant Alioth, and they are successful. This allows them to see the castle of the Timekeepers, who are revealed to be the masterminds behind the TVA. The episode ends with Loki and Sylvie entering the castle, where they are likely to face their final challenge. Episode 6. In the sixth and final episode of Loki, the God of Mischief and Sylvie finally meet He Who Remains, the mysterious being who created the TVA. He Who Remains reveals that he is a variant of Kang the Conqueror, a powerful being who is from a different timeline. He Who Remains tells Loki and Sylvie that he created the TVA to prevent a multiversal war. He says that if he is killed, his variants will come to power and the war will begin. Loki and Sylvie are divided on what to do. Loki believes that He Who Remains should be killed, while Sylvie believes that he should be spared. In the end, Sylvie kills He Who Remains, which sets off a chain reaction that causes the multiverse to branch out into an infinite number of possibilities. Loki is left to pick up the pieces, and he vows to protect the new multiverse from Kang and his variants. The episode ends with a post-credits scene that shows Mobius and Hunter B-15 in a different TVA. This suggests that the multiverse has already begun to change, and that the TVA is no longer the same. The last episode features a major battle between Loki, Sylvie, and He Who Remains. The final episode also features a flashback to the creation of the multiverse, which was caused by a war between Kang variants. That's a quick recap of Loki Season 1, where we witness a mixture of thriller, romance, and many cliffhanger plots. Hope Season 2 is equally filled with the awesome elements of MCU. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe. Destroy the bell icon to get updated for more movies and series updates. Till then, have a safe stay.